standard that denotes a 30% lower use of power and a 30% lower use of fresh water. And it is possible, in a manner of speaking, to achieve sustainability with low and moderate income household. What I'm going to focus upon today, given the time and also the coverage of the other speakers, to work on two theses. One is to say that the application of industrial building system is key to achieve mass housing. So it's about standardization and mechanization. And the second thing I want to touch upon is cost of capital. In our model in affordable housing, the key is to treat the land as a current asset that has to be quickly turned and sold, just as you would do with cement and steel. And the profitability is attained more through a very active management of return on equity. And the margins that we receive in this business are more closer to manufacturing type of margin. But if there is a business that can consistently deliver 25 to 30% return on equity, it certainly is going to have a great value in terms of investors. Transparencies in sales process is also key. As a policy, VBHC guarantees 18 months delivery to customers. Earlier delivery means more use of product, means low real cost to the customer. The first item to my mind in making mass housing real is to focus on standardization. The picture that you have is the way we have organized our workplace. The buildings that we have are made up of series of catalogs and prototypes. And depending upon the type of building or the type of configuration we want to achieve, we do a mix and match, and most of these things are done in a fairly automated process. The nice thing about this approach is that the catalog ensures the bill of material, the various GFC drawings are also simultaneously get completed. I'm going to just flip around over here and show you a very quick video that kind of focuses upon how automated master planning is possible. So just walking around the compounds of the project, you can, let us say in about 1 week's time, design a master plan that would incorporate hundreds of parameters and therefore would provide the best orientation of building and also the lowest cost. So in this case, you can see an automated simulation process, and this is a real example of a project where all parameters are taken into account through simulated process, and as a consequence of which you're able to achieve and not only optimization but also the most elegant form of constructing buildings, of placing buildings. The good thing is we have fair amount of record with, say, the Indian Meteorological Center, over 500 to 600 parameters on light, water, rain, etc., all of which can be very efficiently used. So as you can see, approaches like this can substantially and significantly cut the cost of planning, which in turn would result in fairly lower cost through an ability to get the project earlier. So in this case, the system then looks at various leveling. It then works through what is the best cutting and method you should do filling. It identifies what's the best slope, and then it says, you know, this is probably the way to place the building. And all of it happens, you know, very, very quickly. And you can build in, you know, thousands of parameters if you want. So that's one thing, that the growth, enormous growth of technology, to my mind, is going to provide the most significant breakthrough to cost of construction. One more video, and that pretty much I can then go to my next topic, is about how do you then plan the buildings. Building planning can also be highly automated. And what we do here is a process. As you can see, it's a catalog. The person who's running the system just goes in and picks up various mix and matches, types of this and types of that. And as he keeps doing that, you get a complete building. Not only a building completely, but all the GFCs, various other things that go, and an automatic hands-off to the ERP system. So in this case, we have this dashboard. We choose how many types of apartment we want. We're picking here a 300 square foot apartment. We're picking up 4 floors. We're picking up a standard structure. We want balcony. We want a particular type of facade treatment. And then the system can and will generate what would be the most optimal type of building. The reason why I'm saying this is because a reverse logic of this can be put into the planning process of the government. And within a very short period of time, you can approve the project. So this is pretty much the building, the design, and everything else. So I come back to my main presentation, and I'll now try to link the standardization with cost of capital. Because these are the two factors, I think, to my mind, would enable us to achieve low-cost housing or mass housing. If you look at standardization, we have a huge array of bylaws. They say if you walk in the streets of, if you drive in the street in roads of Rajasthan, every 10 kilometers you have people with different turban. Not very uncommon that you would drive through the metros of India, every 25 kilometers, you have a new bylaw. There is variation in FAR, setbacks, distance between buildings, fire requirement, open spaces, etc., etc. The net effect of all of these things is standardization is extremely difficult. It's quite likely that if you submit the same plan to the same authority, it's likely to get changed again. So there is a need, if you want mass housing, to have a national standard. People turn around and say, but you know, Gujarat is different. But you know, Chennai is different. It isn't. People drive the same Maruti car wherever they are. They don't like Maruti, they can buy a bigger car, they can buy an Alto. This is reality. If you look at Gujarat state, for example, it has the highest ceiling level, but an average Gujarati is no taller than an average Tamilian. So the point is, we have kind of made this very, very localized for whatever the reason, and that hurts. It hurts standardization, it hurts scale. So I think the first clarion call I would make is there can be no mass housing without standardization. The second benefit of standardization, apart from the thing that I showed to you in terms of reduction of planning process, is that you can get trained workforce. There could be continuous increment in productivity. Government process can be automated, and yet it will leave enough room for innovation. So when you look at cost of capital, the thing that kind of scares in our face is the extraordinary approval time. We are like trying to be like auto manufacturers using sub-assembly process, manufacturing principles to construct house, but this auto plant can't work 50% of the time. We wait for approvals, which takes 12 months. We wait for occupancy certificate, which takes 6 months. And the idle time ratio is as much as 60%. With an idle time ratio of 60%, there is no way Maruti can produce low cost. There is no way you can build mass housing. So the principal reason I'm coming back is this, that standardization is important. Standardization is about cycle time. Certain things as developers we can fix in terms of using technology, speed, automation, and all of that stuff, but the principle has to be done. I come back to the cost of capital as a last point, which is this, that if I can get my approvals in 2 months' time, you get a 15% cost of capital. If you take indefinite time, it's impossible to raise money. So in a sense, I think I would say there are lots of things to be done, lots of things that needs to be done to happen mass housing. But if there are two big items on which I would place my bet, I would say let us look for standardization and let's look for lower cycle time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jaikumar. Thank you very much for a detailed, nice presentation. Now, may I request Mr. S.B. Dangayesh of Syntex, MD Syntex, can you try to be in 7 to 8 minutes, 7 minutes, if possible, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mantriji, my friends on the dais and my friends in the audience. Shelter for all through rental housing and need for bold India-centric reforms is the topic that I've chosen because I think that we have got to be India-centric. The magnitude of the opportunity is nearly $1 trillion. And I'm trying to highlight this fact because this is probably the biggest economic opportunity in the country today. We have a shortage of around 18 million houses in the urban areas. We have a shortage of maybe 12, 15 million houses in the rural areas. We have got a growing population, and this, if